thank you once again for joining us today. And again, I am joined by Snehal Patel from Zeiss Cinema Optics.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for making your trip all the way from warm, sunny California.
Yes.
You're braving the cold fall Chicago weather.
Yeah. You know, the leaves haven't turned, which is kind of throwing me off a little bit. Because I'm like, I was expecting the oranges and the yellow hues, but I'll have to come back, I guess.
Yeah, come back. Or the next expo we'll do will be in Maine, so I get to check out the foliage there.
Oh, that'd be nice.
So
yeah.
You heard it here first. Right? So obviously Zeiss Cinema Optics, Zeiss Optics as a whole has had a huge range and sort of breadth of choices for the cinematographer and still shooter. But I know today we wanted to talk a little bit today about the brand new Lightweight Zoom Mark III or version 3.
Yes.
Right? So this builds upon the existing Lightweight Zoom and Lightweight Zoom .2, right? There's a 28 to 70.
Correct. And there was also a 14.5 to 45.
Right, that's right.
Well.
There's two in the Lightweight Zoom series. But this actually, I feel like, really earns the name lightweight.
Oh, yeah?
Right? No, I mean, this is significantly lighter, I feel like, than the other lenses. What is the, there you go.
4.4 pounds. So it is quite light.
Right.
And it's surprisingly so, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the family of Zeiss lenses, you have the compact zooms as well.
Correct.
So for those that aren't so familiar with the series, can you explain a little bit the differentiation of where
Sure.
you guys see lightweight zoom versus compact zoom?
Absolutely, yes. So we have compact primes, and everyone's heard of compact primes. Compact primes are ubiquitous because the CP2, so the Mark II version that was sold directly through Zeiss, the nice thing about it was a full format lens, and when the 5D came out and the whole 5D revolution happened, 2009, 2010, you could take a CP2 lens, put an EF mount on it, and use it natively on the camera without destroying the camera body, right? Because a PL mount was really coming into the body of the camera, so you had to remove the mirror and all that stuff. So CP2s really took off, and the nice thing about the compact primes is that they're full format, meaning you could use it with the 8K VistaVision sensor from Red. Or you can use it with a micro Four Thirds camera, or you could use it with an E-mount camera. It doesn't really matter because you can change the mounts and it has such a large coverage. Now, we also made another set of lenses called the compact zooms. And the compact zooms, and I have one here, a 28 to 80. We have 3 lenses in this series, 15 to 30, 28 to 80, 70 to 200. These are also relatively lightweight lenses, about 5.5 to 6 pounds each. They also have full format coverage. So again, you could use them with a full format camera,
like a stills camera, or
like a stills camera,
right?
like a 5D, or you can use it for like the big sensor on the Red VistaVision size sensor.
Right.
And the nice thing is, even the DXL from Panavision, they have a 28 to 80. That's actually the Zeiss 28 to 80 rehoused for the Panavision DXL camera, which is a version of the weapon sensor. Right. So it's great that you can cover that size. And when you have a lens that covers a big sensor, the nice thing about it is when you use a sensor that's smaller, you're using the center punch of the lens. And you get the best optics for the dollar that you possibly can. And those lenses range from 20 to 24,000 each. They're lightweight, they're really high optical quality. They have a consistent T-stop, so the iris is very consistent. They're very cinematic. Now what we wanted to do was have an option for the Steadicam user, for the handheld, for the gimbal user. And what we did is we created this lens. This lens is a compromise in the sense that all zooms are compromises. What we wanted to do was keep it lightweight and keep the elements small, and we had to reduce the size of the coverage. So this one has a 31.5 millimeter image circle, meant for Super 35 sensors. This is your APS-C size 7D. This is your Dragon 6K, your Alexa, your Amira, Sony F5 55.
Right. Canon C300.
Canon C300, Canon C100, this size sensor. And it covers up to the 6K Dragon in 178 or 185 in widescreen or 16:9 version. So it actually covers quite good, better than the wide angle ultra prime, quite frankly. It has 90% of the sharpness of an ultra prime. It has the chromatic aberrations and coatings from an ultra prime lens. It actually matches really well with ultra prime lens.
Right.
Now the great thing is, ultra prime lens, which is sold by Ari, sells for between 12 and 15,000 each, and is limited to only PL mount. This lens sells for less than $10,000 for the lens. Right. And you can use any mount that you want. So I could actually take this mount off the back, and I could change the mount to E mount for Sony camera, EF mount for C300, C100.
Nikon F mount.
Nikon.
Micro Four Thirds.
Micro Four Thirds.
Pretty simple swap as well. I know you guys provide the Torx tool.
Right.
With the Torx meter built into it,
Correct.
so you can't screw it up in the field. So it's sort of considered not quite field swappable, but if you're doing it in your own studio or in your prep, during your prep stage, yeah, absolutely. Which is great, again, and the focal length is another key point, I think, to point out. 21 to 100 millimeter is probably the sort of the best sweet spot for a cinematographer, especially in the Super 35 format, because it covers really like a good wide, a good punch, and everything in between.
Correct. It does a nice job of giving you a range where you can actually use this lens to shoot a whole piece without ever changing because of the performance of the lens.
Right.
So we actually did a proof of concept. We shot a commercial-style 1-minute video in LA, Los Angeles, with Bill Bennett, a very well-known commercial cinematographer. And he literally shot on a gimbal the size of the Movi 15. It's a gimbal by Tilta called the Gravity, which I know that Abel sells. And the Gravity rig was used for the whole shoot, and they shot the widest to the most tight shots. You have great close-ups of people's faces, and you have wide shots of a guy riding a bicycle through the streets of LA. I mean, it has everything. So I have this at our booth. I do have, like you said, a different mount for the camera lens as well, so I can show people how the change is done. But if you're at home, you can actually do a search for mount change. Or
there's a YouTube video that
there's
you guys
YouTube
produced.
video.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple times. Yeah.
So there's already YouTube videos and instructions on how to do this yourself, and you should feel confident, and you should know that if you're going to invest in a technology, you want to know you're backed up professionally. Being able to shim a mount on a lens is a professional lens. If you cannot shim a cinema lens, that is not a cinema lens. That is an amateur lens. Only cinema lenses you're able to shim because you have to balance out with whatever camera system you're using.
Right, and that's important to note too. Obviously, back focus is a huge thing. You have all these witness marks on the side that your assistant is going to be pulling, or yourself will be pulling focus from. Obviously, you also have angled the scale, so I'm standing behind the camera, I can still see the focus scale.
And
what that's critical
happens
without the shimming is that your focus scale doesn't match the distance to the subject.
And let me ask you, Jeff, what is the most critical thing nowadays because of this? It's the electronic follow focus systems.
Right.
Because now you're programming your electronic follow focus system based on the marks of your lens. If the marks of the lens are not correct, what are you doing? Because you will go on set. If you're a first AC and you don't prep correctly, or you don't expect your rental house to help you, shim the mounts, you're going to go to a set and you're going to buzz a shot. In the buzz the shot, by the way, means you're going to have something out of focus. Right. And when you do that once, you get a warning. The second time, it's not like you get a warning like school. You get fired. Yeah. So to know that as an owner-operator or as a professional that's working in this industry, I need to know that my product is going to be used in a professional way.
Right. And again, I think you bring up a really good point with the whole Movi concept, the gimbal, aerial applications, right? We've all used a lot of the still photo lenses, which are great for what they are, but when you zoom in on those, the front element usually moves, which throws balance way off. Yes. And then you're rebalancing. Or when you balance, you kind of just kind of guess, because you're using a zoom lens, you can never tell where.
Because it telephotos, right?
It physically
moves. Yeah.
Physically moves out, right? With something like this, all built-in internal elements, internal focusing elements. Right. Nothing's moving. It's nice and fixed. So at your booth here in the Learning Point, you also have a bunch of other lenses that we'll just mention. You brought basically the full complement.
Yes.
Right.
I
so
did.
compact primes, compact zooms.
Correct.
You also brought some of the quote-unquote still-oriented lenses, right? Like the Milvis and Otis lenses, I believe.
Right. Milvis, Otis, Loxia, and Batis. And by the way, these are all Latin bird names because Latin bird names can't be copywritten. And also, birds have optical qualities that we want to emulate with glass. And also, Zeiss has a huge birding history because we do binoculars and birding scopes. We also do medical equipment and stuff way beyond lenses. Eyeglasses. 1/3 of you wearing eyeglasses is wearing a Zeiss lens.
If you've ever been to a planetarium, 99% of the time it's a Zeiss planetarium projector.
Exactly.
So a little Jeopardy trivia for you there.
So we do have still lenses, and we have, let's say, the Milvis, which is our new ZE-ZF primes for Canon and Nikon mount. We have Otis, which is our high-quality SLR lenses for medium format look on a high-resolution camera like the 5DS. And then we also have Loxia, which is manual focus E-mount, and Batis, which is autofocus E-mount for Sony applications, A7S, FS5, FS7. So we do have all those options. The reason I think I brought this lens is it's exciting. Right. And you could use this on all those cameras as well, because you could change the mount. But it represents what we feel means professionalism. It's a very good embodiment of how we see we should be servicing the community.
Yeah, and I think one last point we should really stress is matching. When you're jumping from A camera to B camera, you have to make sure the cuts are clean and they match. And whether you're using a cinema-oriented lens or a still-oriented lens on your B cam, let's say, it's important to know that everything's going to look the same in the final edit. So
Absolutely,
that's a big trademark of using a Zeiss optics for all your production.
Zeiss has a definitive look for sure, and a lot of that look comes from coatings.
Sure.
You'll notice that all of our cinema lenses have T-star coatings. That coating actually helps you in color correction because your image will look similar. Regardless if you use a CP2 Master Prime or Ultra Prime, you'll be able to dial it in so that they match well.
Right. Fantastic. I think that's all the time we have for right now, but make sure to check out the Zeiss booth in the Learning Point. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll check you soon. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.